Welcome to another episode of Out from the Horrorbox. I'm your ghostly host, Dom, and in this episode we take a look at more unsolved disappearances and some scary stories. We've had a good run of reviews leading up to this point, so I thought now would be a good time to just kind of take a more relaxing episode where you could just shut off the lights and just get spooked. Let's get into the unsettling disappearances that remain unsolved. There's a front door ajar, an abandoned car on the side of the road, and a last call cut off. We keep hope that when someone disappears, we will not only find, but also understand the circumstances around how they came to be missing. In rare instances, people seem to disappear into thin air. It seems strange that as we have progressed so far, that we are so connected and it seems harder to fall off the grid, yet these disappearances still happen from time to time, all across the globe. We start off in the Northwest in Oregon, head to the Midwest in Ohio, then to the Northeast in New York, and finally settle in the South in Tennessee. Come along as we dive into the disappearances of family, friends, and neighbors. Kyron Richard Horman was born on September 9th, 2002 in Portland, Oregon, to parents Desiree Young and Kane Horman, an engineer for Intel. The couple divorced when Young was 8 months pregnant with Kyron, citing irreconcilable differences. Though they initially shared custody, Kane assumed full custody in 2004 when Young was diagnosed with kidney failure requiring extensive medical treatment, though she remained actively involved in her son's life. 2007, Kane married Terry Moulton, born March 14, 1970, a substitute teacher from Roseburg, whom he had begun dating during his divorce proceedings. The couple welcomed a daughter, Kiara, in December 2008, while Kyron attended Skyline Elementary School near Forest Park. On June 4th, 2010, Terry took Kyron to his school science fair, later reporting she last saw him walking towards his classroom around 8:45 a.m. before leaving campus. Her account detailed running errands at two Fred Meyer stores, driving their toddler around to soothe an earache, working out at a gym, and posting science fair photos on Facebook throughout the day. When Kyron failed to return home on the school bus that afternoon, the family learned he had been marked absent all day, prompting a 911 call at 3:30 p.m. and launching what would become Oregon's largest search operation. The massive search effort initially focused on a 2-mile radius around Skyline Elementary, and it's extended to, I'm probably not going to say this right, Sauve Island, approximately 6 miles away, including particular attention to the Sauve Island Bridge, though law enforcement never disclosed their reasons for these specific search locations. Over 10 days, more than 1,300 searchers from Oregon, Washington, and California combed the area, with the reward for information increasing from $25,000 to $50,000 by late July 2010. The search ultimately cost an estimated $1.4 million and generated 4,257 tips, but yielded no trace of Kyron. Meanwhile, the investigation took a dramatic turn when Kane learned Terry had allegedly solicited their landscaper, Rodolfo Sanchez, to kill him 5 months before Kyron's disappearance. A claim Terry denied despite Sanchez's deposition, testimony, and unsuccessful attempt by investigators to record incriminating evidence. Kane promptly filed for divorce on June 28, 2010, obtaining a restraining order against Terry, who later failed 2 polygraph examinations regarding Kyron's disappearance. Investigators also saw an unidentified individual reportedly seen in Terry's truck outside the school that morning while scrutinizing her friend Dee Dee Spierer, I don't know how to pronounce that, who had been unaccounted for during a 3-hour window that day and helped Terry obtain an untraceable cell phone after Kane moved out. The case saw multiple legal developments in subsequent years, including grand jury hearings in 2010 that failed to produce indictments. Desiree Young's $10 million civil lawsuit against Terry in 2012, which was dropped in 2013 to avoid interfering with the criminal investigation, and reports in 2017 that a secret grand jury continued reviewing evidence. Despite extensive efforts, including additional searches along Skyline Boulevard in July 2017, Kyron's disappearance remains unsolved, with the case still classified as active and ongoing. The heartbreaking mystery has left unanswered questions about the events of June 4th, 2010, when the 7-year-old vanished without a trace after being last seen at his school science fair, his fate unknown more than a decade later. And that's really scary to think that you could just drop your kid off at school and they just never show up to class. And to me, it kind of sounds like maybe she had something involved. Like, there are people who saw an individual in her truck outside the school that morning, and maybe she took him to the science fair and took photos so that she could post to kind of be like, oh, see, this is my alibi. How could I have done anything, right? Well, the other person, whoever was along for the ride, or who she her friend was missing for 3 hours of that day. Who knows, right? Who knows what maybe she decided, you know what, I don't really want to take care of this kid who's not my kid, and figured out a way to get rid of him. Yeah, a lot of it just sounds kind of like maybe she might have had something to do with it, but then again, maybe she didn't, and maybe he just wandered away from class, and I don't know, who knows, right? But the fact that they couldn't even find him within a certain radius of the school and even certain further surroundings, I don't know. Unless he got picked up and was kidnapped, who knows? But that to me is kind of scary. Erica Baker was born on June 22nd, 1989 in Kettering, Ohio, a suburb of Dayton. The petite 10-year-old stood just 3 feet 11 inches tall and weighed 65 pounds, with distinctive features including blonde hair, hazel eyes, crooked front teeth, a tan birthmark on her hip, and a scar on the inner arc of 1 foot. On February 7, 1999, she was last seen around 4 p.m., sitting on a bench near a pond in Indian Rifle Park, adjacent to the Kettering Recreation Complex. She wore a pink rain jacket, a pink Winnie the Pooh sweatshirt, blue jeans, and white tennis shoes, an outfit that would become seared into the memory of her community. That fateful day began when Erica, reportedly upset at her father, Greg Baker, for forgetting to buy tickets to a father-daughter dance she had been eagerly anticipating. Greg dropped her off at her mother Misty Baker's house around 3 p.m. Half an hour later, Erica asked her grandmother, Pam Schmidt, if she could take the family's Shih Tzu for a walk. Though hesitant at first, Pam eventually relented. When Erica failed to return, concern grew. By 4:30 p.m., the dog was found dragging the leash alone. Erica had vanished without a trace. What followed was one of the most extensive missing child investigations in Ohio history. The Kettering Police Department, aided by the FBI, Ohio State Highway Patrol, and local volunteers, conducted large-scale searches. Ground-penetrating radar scoured nearby wooded areas, and a pond near her elementary school was drained. All to no avail. Initial suspicion fell on Erica's parents, but both Misty and Greg passed polygraph tests, shifting the focus elsewhere. Attention soon turned to 29-year-old Christian John Gabriel, a man with a history of drug use who had reportedly been driving a van in the area around the time of Erica's disappearance. His girlfriend, Jan Marie Franks, and friend Clifford Butts were also persons of interest. In 2004, Gabriel confessed to striking Erica with his van near the intersection of Glengarry Drive and Powhatan Place. He claimed to have heard a thud while driving, seen a dog run off, and then discovered the body of a young girl. Under the influence of drugs, he allegedly buried her in a shallow grave with the help of his passengers. Gabriel's account, however, unraveled under scrutiny. He led authorities to multiple locations: Huffman Dam, Eastwood Lake, and Cedar Creek State Park, but searches yielded nothing. His story also changed repeatedly, first claiming Franks and Butts were present, then only Franks, then adding Butts' girlfriend. He flip-flopped between being the driver and the passenger. In 2005, he was convicted of gross abuse of a corpse and tampering with evidence, serving 6 years before his release in 2011. Despite his claims, Erica's body has never been found. Complicating matters further was Jan Franks, who remained uncooperative with investigators before her death from a drug overdose in 2001. Authorities suspected she may have confined details about Erica's disappearance to her attorney, federal public defender Beth Lewis. When Lewis refused to testify before a grand jury, citing attorney-client privilege, she was held in contempt, though an appeal spared her from jail. In the decades since, the case has remained active. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released an age-progressed image in 2014, envisioning Erica at 24. Detective Amy Pedro, who now leads the investigation, with retired detective Bob Green still involved. Recent efforts include a 2022 search prompted by the Missing Erica Baker podcast, and searches near Huffman Dam in 2025 by Texas EquuSearch Midwest, yet the mystery endures. Erica's disappearance remains one of Ohio's most haunting unsolved cases, with no remains recovered and conflicting accounts from the only suspect to confess. The questions linger. What truly happened to Erica Baker on that winter afternoon in 1999? And I mean, right, like, this is one of those ones where if the guy had done it, he would know exactly where he put the body. Like, I feel like that's not something you forget. And like it says, like he took the authorities to multiple different things, and then he even like wavered on like even if he was the person driving or not. I mean, he was on drugs, so you might like put it up to that, but even like contradicting himself in like who was there, I feel like maybe he hit something, and you know, like being on drugs, he just connected the two. Like they say, he was in the area. Maybe he just decided, like in his mind, he like connected the two for some reason, and like created like that false memory. I'm not trying to give him an excuse, but I'm just saying like that's something that could happen, right? Like he can give like this false confession because he has a false memory of something because, you know, like he was on drugs and stuff. I feel like it would be easy for someone to, you know, even if you're on drugs, to like be like, oh, I know I was in this area, so that's where the body's got to be. And the fact that like I said, he took, and then for the quote unquote accomplices to like just like not want to be cooperative, like if you know you didn't do it, like wouldn't you try and help them as much as you can? Like try and get yourself out of like, he keeps saying it's me and that I helped him, but I didn't. Like, wouldn't you be trying to like get out of that? I don't know. I would be doing everything I could to be like, look, I'm gonna help you guys as much as I can because I didn't do nothing. I don't know. It's really strange though. It sounds like maybe she just like got picked up, and yeah, I don't know. Just it's one of those ones. Also, like it's another one of those ones where, you know, like the previous one, you know, most likely it was like the stepmom. This one, most likely, probably the guy who hit her, maybe, but who knows? There's always a scary chance that it was just somebody abducted her, right? That's what could happen. I mean, we'll never know. It's been over, oh man, 20 years. Whew. It's been a long time. Lauren Elizabeth Spierer, born January 17th, 1991, in Scarsdale, New York, to accountant Robert Spierer and his wife, Charlene, disappeared under mysterious circumstances during her sophomore year at Indiana University in 2011. The bright textiles merchandising student, an active member of IU's Jewish community, who had recently participated in a tree planting initiative in Israel, was last seen in the early hours of June 3rd after a night of heavy drinking with friends from Camp Towanda, the Pennsylvania summer camp where she'd met boyfriend Jesse Wolf and close friend Jay Rosenbaum years earlier. Surveillance footage pieced together her final hours, leaving Kilroy's sports bar barefoot at 2:27 a.m. with visibly intoxicated friend Corey Rosman, wandering through an alley where her purse and keys were later found, and making a final appearance at 4:30 a.m. near 11th Street and College Avenue wearing black leggings and a white shirt before vanishing completely. The subsequent investigation became one of Indiana's most exhaustive missing persons cases, spanning landfill searches, FBI-led property excavations, and over 3,000 tips, including a possible connection to convicted murderer Daniel Messel, who was ultimately dismissed. Suspicion swirled around Spierer's male companions that night, all of whom retained lawyers and refused police polygraphs, while her parents maintained their daughter may have been drugged at the bar. Compounding the mystery were reports of Spierer's cocaine and Klonopin use that evening, particularly dangerous given her long QT syndrome heart condition, though private investigators doubted an accidental overdose would motivate a cover-up given IU's pervasive substance culture. Alternative theories range from acquaintance foul play to stranger abduction, with the FBI even pursuing leads against a Martinsville man named Justin Waggers after cadaver dogs alerted his property on 2016, though no evidence surfaced. Nearly 13 years later, with no body recovered and no definitive answers about what transpired after Spierer stumbled barefoot into the Bloomington night, the case remains a haunting open wound for both her family and the IU community, emblematic of how, even in our hyper-connected age, someone can simply disappear without a trace. This is another strange one where, like, they have, like, footage of, like, the person right before they die. Like, how do you, like, I don't understand how you're able to just avoid, like, all these, like, CCTVs. I know they can't be everywhere, but, like, they're in enough places. I mean, I guess if you're in a smaller city, I just know that, well, because I just happen to live in a metropolitan area, so there's constantly, like, something somewhere that it's very rare unless you go off onto, like, maybe, like, the reservation here, like, when you're not going to be caught on some kind of, like, CCTV, or you have to find, like, something a little bit more remote, or, like, these little pockets where maybe, like, something doesn't catch you. But I feel like most cities have enough around where, yeah, like, you could piece it together. But it just sounds so weird. Like, yeah, and, like, she was with the friend, and then they went down the alley, and that's where her purse and keys were found. And then, like, they all got lawyers and refused to, like, talk to the police and stuff. I don't know. To me, it sounds a little suspicious. Maybe they did drug her, and maybe, like, it like, caused her to, like, OD or something. But then, like, she was walking around barefoot for, like, 2 hours on the streets. I don't know. It's very strange. But I feel like something was up. Something somewhere. Something happened, and I feel like maybe And it's weird that one guy too in Martinsville, like that the cadaver dog is like alerted at his property, even though like why would they? It's so see like things like this is like these are the little things that like it makes me like, come on, what is going on here? What like these are the things that scare me, because it's like, where do these people go? And the next one, the one that we'll wrap up with after this, is one it's really creepy, and I have a lot to say about it. But let's just move on to it. On Father's Day weekend in 1969, 6-year-old Dennis Martin of Knoxville vanished without a trace during a family camping trip in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The Martins, Dennis, his father, grandfather, and older brother, had hiked from Cades Cove to Spence Field near the Appalachian Trail, a tradition for the family. On June 14th at around 4:30 p.m., Dennis was playing a game with his brother and other children, planning to jump out and surprise the adults. His father last saw him duck behind a bush, but when the other children returned minutes later, Dennis was gone. A frantic search began immediately. His father sprinted nearly 2 miles down the trail, certain Dennis couldn't have gone further, but found no sign of him. Rangers were soon alerted, but the rugged terrain, steep slopes, dense ravines, and wildlife like bears, bobcats, and venomous snakes made the search perilous. Conditions worsened when a sudden downpour dumped 3 inches of rain, flooding streams and eroding trails. Temperatures that night dropped to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, diminishing hopes that the boy could survive exposure. Search effort ballooned into the largest in the park's history, involving up to 1,400 people, including National Guard troops and Green Berets. Yet the sheer number of searchers may have inadvertently destroyed potential clues. One promising lead, a set of small footprints, one bare and the other in an Oxford-style shoe like Dennis's, was dismissed by officials as belonging to a Boy Scout. Retired Ranger Dwight McCarter later contested this, noting no scouts were searching barefoot, and the prints, which vanished at a stream, could have been Dennis's. By June 22nd, searchers had combed 56 square miles. The operation scaled back by June 26th and was abandoned by month's end. Officially ending on September 14th, Dennis's father offered a $5,000 reward, which would be about $42,000 today, but no credible leads emerged. Until years later, when a ginseng hunter claimed to have found a child's bone in Big Hollow. Fearful of prosecution for illegal harvesting, he waited until 1985 to report it, but a follow-up search found nothing. There are 3 primary theories that people or like law enforcement have put forward. Exposure and perishing, the most likely per park officials given the harsh terrain and weather. The second, an animal attack. A bear or a feral hog could have carried Dennis away, though no remains were found. And third and last, abduction. Dennis's father believed this possible, citing a tourist's report of a disheveled man fleeing the area with a bundle heard screaming around the time of the disappearance. Authorities dismissed the connection due to the distance, 5 to 9 trail miles, and timing. The case remains unsolved, but has reshaped National Park Service missing persons protocol. In 2024, the abduction theory was explored in Hulu's Out There, Crimes of the Paranormal, reigniting public interest in this haunting wilderness mystery. And this is one that's included in David Paulides. He's the one who came up with the Missing 411. If you haven't seen that, honestly, I do recommend checking it out, because not for... If you're thinking along these lines of like something more supernatural, then you'll probably like it. If you're like trying to be more down to earth, and like maybe it was just like an animal, or like they died from exposure or something. And you might not like it, but Missing 411 is basically kind of saying that like most of these missing people in parks kind of go missing because of Bigfoot. some of them, and especially this one. There's one channel on YouTube, and I'll link it in the show notes. Named Bob Gimlin, and he takes a look at it, like a lot of like different Bigfoot, so quote unquote Bigfoot like footage and like clips. He doesn't take a lot, but the ones that he does look at, and then like he takes a lot of stories too, like in people's like accounts, and they like sketch it out, and he tells these different stories. There's a lot of really good ones in there that are very like creepy and scary. There's one like where I'm like, man, like that if this is true, and like this really happened to people, like this is fucking scary. I don't know why the fuck you guys are living in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, no, he did a video on this. It's pretty good, like where he explores like the different scenarios, and like he goes more into, because I think he listened to a like David Paulides like interviewing the guy who said that like he saw the disheveled man that was like fleeing the area, and like he says like it wasn't too far, like the authorities say it was pretty far, but the way he maps it out is he's like, well, it's actually not too like out of the realm, because if you think about like the time that he went missing to the point to where he saw the man, and then they figured out that he was missing, it could be about the same time. I don't know, but I'm not saying and I agree that it was Bigfoot or anything, or maybe it was just a disheveled homeless man, or like wild guy out there who saw this kid and was like, well, I'm gonna take this kid. Or honestly, it probably was he wandered off, fell down into one of like these ravines or something, and then like unfortunately, yeah, like the floods came, the weather turned bad, he might have just perished from exposure. Maybe he was attacked, and that's why he wasn't able to call for help or anything. It's just the way that when you understand like how quickly he disappeared, that's the very, very unsettling part, because it's literally like he describes it in the YouTube video. Like literally, it's like they were playing kid, and then maybe not even like a minute later, when the adults like who were literally there, they just kind of walked closer, and then they came out of the bushes to surprise them. And within like the span of like a minute maybe, or maybe a little bit longer, but that's pushing it, he was gone. He was just gone. Like, and that's why like he said like he sprinted around the area looking, but like you can only sprint in one direction, and it's hard to like, if he was trying to cover a lot of ground, like he's running over a lot of ground that he might have already gone through before, and that's probably why he could have missed him. I don't know. It's really sad too, but I do highly recommend you do check out that YouTube channel if you're into that kind of thing, if you're into like strange like disappearances, but also like Bigfoot, because he does examine, and like it's not just Bigfoot, it's a lot of other like things that are like unsolved, or like things that are like relating to that. So, but if you also Missing 411 too, if you're into that as well, because they talk about a lot of like ones where like there's one where it's kind of a similar thing. The family, they went camping and they were fishing near a river, and literally the grandpa was with the kid out there. He like the kid went to like the river, which was like maybe like 10 feet away. He turned around for like a minute maybe, and he was gone, completely gone. And it's like, well, he didn't hear anything, he didn't see anything. Like where did he, and a lot of it was put, a lot of the blame was put on the parents. But then you get to realize like they weren't really there, but like they're just as distraught. They're like, if you're thinking they did something, they're, I don't know. I feel like if they did, I'm not saying that they wouldn't feel just as bad, but it's like kind of hard to fake that. But yeah, no, like this is, it's just really sad that like for all these years, this little kid, and these people, they just want closure. They just want to know like what, and I think that's what most of us want. It's just like to know like what happened, what is it? What is it that caused this to happen? Was it a Bigfoot? Was it an alien? Was it they just tripped and fell and hit their head? Was it an animal that attacked them? Was it something just as mundane as that? And that's all we want to know, right? We just want to know what happened. For all of human history, we've lived with people disappearing in strange and unexplainable ways. Sometimes they are easy to solve, other times they will puzzle us to the day we disappear. There are multiple sides to every story, and even if the explanation is something mundane, there are so many things out there that we still don't know and will remain unknown. So remember to keep your eyes open and check every shadow. All right, guys, so to kind of wrap everything up for this episode, let's get into some scary stories. Hopefully you like these ones. I try and go onto like Reddit to get some things for you guys. If you guys have some scary stories that you like me to read or tell, like I said at the end of every episode, send them in. Give them to me. I love to read them. If you want to hear more of my personal ones, I've been trying to get a YouTube video put together for that, so watch out for that. But for now, let's just get into some things that are spooky. Who was that? I've posted this before, and it was a thing that happened when I was a child. I truly don't believe in the paranormal, but I still check in my bed and look to the corners of my room with suspicious sounds. I stayed the weekend over at my parents', and it was just me and my dad. My mom stayed at my sister's because her husband is deployed. As guys do, we watched Ballerina and ate terribly, then went to sleep. The guest room is upstairs, and my parents downstairs. I'm a night owl, but crashed around 3 a.m., and my dad is a light sleeper, so this could be why. My dad said around 4:30, 5 a.m., he heard someone stomping and making huffing sounds with every step. He asked if I was working out, which I have done in the past early on. It was not me. His bedroom has an angle to the living room where he was hearing it. Against the walls, he could see a shadow going up and down. See, I don't sleepwalk, or has anyone told me I have? My dad is in his 60s and said he felt the vibrations as if someone was going up and down fast. Burpees, for instance. I was fast asleep upstairs. I think it was him being in a dreamy state since I've done it before. However, that night I felt weird going to sleep. I was at a constant unease. Yeah, that's kind of like scary if you think about like you're waking up in like 4, 5 in the morning to somebody just like do 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 like running around and up like above you, or where was he said it was above him, right? Or yeah, because it said that the oh no, yeah, because the guest room was upstairs and the parents' room was downstairs, and he heard and like he could see, and obviously he saw something too. He says he could see a shadow going up and down, but it's like just them two, and like I mean maybe he was sleepwalking and he just didn't know, right? Or maybe the dad right, like woke up and kind of like a not a sleep, not exactly sleep paralysis. Maybe he was coming out of a dream. I don't know, very strange. But he said he felt the vibrations. Very, very strange. Skepticism struggling to rationalize. Hey, I'm new here. For context, what I'm about to say, I've never once in my life believed in even the possibility of spirits, ghosts, or anything like that. Anything I've ever encountered or heard about was always ultimately explainable in a way. I work night shift security at a place everyone claims is haunted. I've always felt it was kind of bogus. I've had computers turn on out of nowhere, doors slam in front of me, whistling in empty buildings. Nothing has fazed me or made me think there's a haunting happening here. Then a couple of weeks ago, I stumbled upon this cool-looking crawl space. It's like a 3-foot tall door frame leading to what seems to be endless crawl space in the form of tunnels. So I decided tonight to explore it, because why not? I'm bored. So I get to the crawl space, and I have this heavy-duty police-grade flashlight. You can adjust the intensity on. For context, I've not once ever had an issue with this flashlight, and it is never low on battery because I don't want to ever be in a situation where it dies on me. But as soon as I stepped into the crawl space, the flashlight immediately went to the dimmest setting. I didn't think much of it and turned it back up and took another step. Same thing happened, and it proceeded to happen until I decided to step out of the crawl space, and then it stayed bright. So I went outside and sat in my car parked outside the only entrance for not even a second before being curious and going back in. Within the span of this not even a minute, there was now a fully tied up black garbage bag in the crawl space. So when I was outside the only entrance and was gone for maybe 30 seconds, a trash bag was put there. So I searched the entire building and found no one in there. Didn't hear a thing. I went to the trash bag, and every time I showed my light on it, same thing, it dimmed. I kicked the bag out of curiosity of what it was or what was in it, and it felt like paper and plastic bottles maybe. Not sure. Anyway, I have no clue what to make of this, as someone who has never thought of ghosts could possibly be real. Just wanted to tell someone about this. And I think it's kind of funny when like the ones who are always like, yeah, I never, there's nothing, no ghosts around. There ain't nothing creepy around here. And then they just go on to describe like when he was saying like whistling in the building and computers turning on. And then like this happens too. Like at some point, aren't you going to be like, okay, something weird is going on here. Something is at least happening that it might not be a ghost, maybe it's something else, but maybe somebody playing a trick on me, but it's got to be something, right? Like, something has to be happening here. It's really weird. And it's creepy that, like, I'm kind of glad he didn't go further into the crawl space, to be honest. Like, just think about, like, having to keep going in there and, like, the light just keeps getting dimmer and dimmer, and then it eventually just shuts off, and now you're just wandering in the dark. Ugh, creepy. A haunted house. Super haunted house. Had several paranormal experiences. Old man died a month before we took the house. It was split into 2 segments. Grandparents lived in the other half and hated it. Always told us they wanted to leave. Never told us why. I often asked to sleep with my mom in the living room. I assumed it was because I was creeped out as well. Woke up one night to see a figure inspecting our family photos on a cabinet. Best way to explain it is that it looked like a grim reaper that just walked out of a swamp. Mossy and gross. It wasn't sleep paralysis. I tried nudging my mom over and over, pinched myself, hid under the covers, etc. It walked off to go inspect other rooms and didn't come back. As for other events, We had frequent kitchen items crash and break in the middle of the night, light bulbs, plates, etc. During the Great California Earthquake, my mom and I witnessed her bike get thrown in front of the door erratically while we're trying to escape. I also swear that I once saw a floating, glowing head past my bedroom, but I'm somewhat sure that one was just a nightmare. I was like 6 at the time. We moved out from the house for earthquake damages and talked about it when I was older, around 15. She knew the place was super haunted, but couldn't afford to leave. Okay, yeah, that sounds creepy. Even if that was a dream, that's a or a nightmare about the floating, glowing head passing the bedroom. That sounds like that sounds so creepy. And then I mean, what's even creepier is the Grim Reaper thing, like inspecting the photos and like that it looks like it crawled out of a swamp and that it was like mossy and gross. Like, and the fact that like he was trying to get the mom to like wake up or whatever, right? And that he was like pinching himself, hiding under the covers, and that it just like walked off to like another part of the house is unsettling for me. And I get that it didn't come back, but like the fact that it just walked to another room is creepy. Just think about like, what if it came back? What if it follows you? God, like that's fucking creepy right there. They the grandparents probably were seeing things too. That's probably why they wanted to leave, and like they never told you why. It was probably because they were probably like seeing these things, these apparitions, and not and being like when you ask, it's like, well, if we say this, they'll probably think we're senile, we're going crazy, or having dementia or something. Ugh, so creepy. Ugh, creepy demon girl. When I was about 14, I was spending the summer over at my mom's house, and in the middle of the night, I randomly woke up to some creepy little girl crouched down, walking in the room me and my younger brother were sleeping in at the time. I couldn't make out much detail of her because she was like pitch black with long black hair covering her face. I remember waking up and just staring at her in shock. She just sat there, crouched down, and started walking towards where my brother was sleeping. At first, I thought it was my niece, though thought maybe she was scared of the dark and didn't want to sleep by herself. So I called her by name and said, "Is that you?" And it stopped, turned around, and just walked out of the door like nothing ever happened. And I went back to sleep like nothing ever happened. It was weird when I woke up the next morning. I asked my niece if she tried to come in the room last night to find out she had been sleeping in my mom's room with her that whole night. What do y'all think? Well, I think that's creepy. That's another creepy thing to wake up and to see a little girl just crouching down like in the middle of the night, like you can't even see her face because of the long black hair. So like something out of the Ring or the Grudge or something. Like, oh man, like that's fucking like just just imagine like you're right. You're just sleeping. You're comfortable in your bed. It's warm, right? Nice and maybe like you're coming out of like a sleep. It's like the middle of the night. You open your eyes and you look and there's just a figure there, crouched down, walking toward like across your room, and like yeah, maybe you think it's your niece, and you call out this is her, and ask her like, "Hey, is that you?" Like, or like, do you need something or something? And then for it to just stop, turn around, and just walk out, and that's it. Like nothing ever happened, and it's like that's creepy. That right there, that's creepy too. Like some just creepy little girl just in your room in the middle of the night, no explanation, enough to just scare the shit out of you. Multiple encounters. This is a pretty long post, so just bear with me as I go through it. The original poster said that they put the most convincing experiences at the bottom. They just moved out of the house that's all happened in, and they thought they'd share their experiences that happened in it. Experience 1. It all started when my siblings had come over and my family and I were eating lunch. When we were eating, then we were stopped by the doorbell. It rang a couple of times. My dad walks over to go check it out, and he opens the door and nothing. We let it go and just a ding dong ditch. Then 5 minutes later, it rings again. This time the ring got faster by the second. It started out slow, but then sped up and got faster and faster. It kept ringing as my dad was walking towards the door, and at this point, there was no time for the ding dong ditcher to leave, and as soon as my dad opened the door, it stopped. We all thought this was so bizarre, and my sister even mentioned how we could have let a ghost in, but we all wrote it off as maybe the doorbell going bad or the house being old. Experience 2. This one happened over a few years, multiple times, and is by far the most explainable not to be paranormal. But anyways, I lived in a bedroom that was connected to another room via a Jack and Jill bathroom. And on many different occasions, as I would close one door to the bathroom, the other door would open. And as I would open another door, the other one would close. This might be explainable by like wind created, vacuum. Honestly, not too sure on the science, but if it really was a ghost, this led me to believe it was of a kid being very playful with me. Experience 3. This one is by far the scariest experience of them all for me. While living in this house, I was constantly tired and was always taking naps throughout the day. One time, I'm falling asleep on my bed, then I hear the loudest exhale directly in my ear. Not far away, not close by, but directly in my ear. I immediately jolted up and looked around for my parents or someone playing a prank on me, but no one was there. Experience 4. This one happened another time when I was falling asleep, but this time it was at night. I was drifting away, but then I hear my door handle being creaked open. So I'm thinking maybe it's someone just coming into my room. So I lay there waiting for them to tell me something. Then I partially sit up and see the door handle kind of wobbling like someone was playing with it. And I still hear the sound. Then I sat up all the way, and then it immediately stopped, which was weird. And I saw the motion light on the balcony outside my room go off right after the handle stopped. This was truly creepy to me, and I have no idea why, but this really felt like a little kid. It was almost like a gut feeling. Experience number 5. This experience is another reason why I thought this kid was always trying to play with me. I had this graduation balloon for like a couple months in the room connected to my bedroom. And it just sat there deflating for a while, and I didn't do anything about it. Then I got to the point where it was not all the way down, but definitely a foot or two above the ground. Now I was in the bathroom with the 2 connecting doors open. There was this other small shower and toilet room in the bathroom, and that's where I was. So this balloon that was in the connecting room turned the corner into the bathroom and traveled 2 rooms to where I was in. I kept pushing it away into the sink room, but it kept coming back to me. Then after like 5 times of this, I realized that this might have been the kid. So I said, please stop with this. I do not want to be bothered right now. Or something to that effect. Then I pushed it away a couple more times and it stopped. There was no AC happening at the time because I had checked as to what could be moving the balloon and nothing. Experience 6. This is one of the most convincing that I wasn't going crazy. So it was just around 11 p.m. and I was downstairs getting a glass of water. Then all of a sudden I heard footsteps running down the stairs like an emergency. I was shocked, and I had waited a few seconds for my dad to come out to tell me something horrible happened or something was wrong. I waited another 5 seconds and nothing. I walk over, look up the stairs, and no one is there. Both my dogs are sleeping, so it couldn't have been them. Everyone in my house is asleep except my dad. So I go to his room and I said, "Did you just run downstairs?" And he replied that he didn't, and he had heard the running too. That was the most convincing to me that I wasn't crazy because my dad had heard it too. Yeah, some of these sound like they could be explained, like the door, the honestly, I think the doorbell ringing one is a little fishy because I've had something similar happen at our house. We had someone, quote unquote, maybe something else. Um, not like okay, they rang the doorbell. Or no, they were knocking. They were knocking on the door, and it was just me, my mom, my sister, and my brother. Me and my mom and my sister were in my mom's room and on one side of the house. So my brother was over on in the other side of the house, in the living room. He was playing a game, and our oldest brother was out, but he was coming home, and we heard someone knock on the door. Just a knock, and we don't really like answering like when my dad's not here, so we just kind of like shrugged it off, like whatever, they'll go away. But they kept knocking, and then they went over to like the window and they started knocking on the window, and then they started knocking on the other windows because we have a big next to the door in the front area. We have a big picture window, and then we have a smaller window by the kitchen, and they were going all along the front, like knocking on the window, knocking on the kitchen window, knocking on the big window, knocking on the door, going back and forth, and then they even did like a the shave and a haircut 2 bits like on the door, and it was creeping us out. We couldn't see like out the windows like who it was, and by the time they did stop and we like looked out the window, they'd gotten away. But the way our house looks, it's very open out front to the streets, and like you'd have to either go around the side of our house to not be seen because our street is shaped like a bow, like a rainbow, like a U. So if you're trying to either way you're going, the only way to not be seen is to go to like the sides of the house, because if you'd literally have to run and sprint down the street like to where like the end of the street and take the corner, because like that's the only way you can't be seen. And there was no one there. The only thing my sister and my mom could kind of see outside, they were wearing like a hat. This was a long time ago. This is like I don't remember, like 2010s, teens, and they were wearing like a red hat or something. It wasn't like a MAGA hat or anything. It was way before that. But yeah, it was just kind of creepy. Like I feel like that's creepier. And then the last experience about the running and like the dad heard that too is like creepy onto itself, because it's like it's not just him, it's other people hearing it too. Some of the other stuff, like the stuff with like the balloon, okay, maybe. It is a little weird with the door handle, and then like the light turns on. That's a little creepy too. But everything else is like, I kind of feel like it's a little explainable. Like maybe the balloon, I don't know, maybe like some kind of like static charge or something. I don't know, some kind of science bullshit. Who can explain that? But yeah, no, like there's definitely creepy things in here, and then there's definitely things that seem like they could probably be explained. But for the most part, like, yeah, dude, it sounds like you probably did live in a haunted house. What do you make of these unsolved disappearances? Did any story scare you? Do you want to hear more? Well, I do too, but the episode has to end. We want to thank you all for listening, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe to get every new episode downloaded. Do you have any personal or fictional, paranormal, supernatural, or unexplainable stories? We'd love to read them on the podcast. Please send your stories, recommendations, or anything else to horrorboxpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to show more support, you can follow our socials on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, or check out our YouTube channel, all at Horrorbox Podcast on all sites. Also, you can buy me a coffee at coffee.com/horrorboxpodcast. It really helps out. Until next time, keep the lights on. This is Dom, signing off from the Horrorbox.